and welcome back to the channel. Today let's talk about the 3 foreign organizations that I see sponsoring what feels like the majority of creative events around Harare. For a little background, in Nairobi I was too nervous to really be a part of the creative scene, but when I got to Harare I made a more concerted effort to be a part of it, and it definitely helped that part of my day-to-day job became documenting these events through articles and videos, and so I attended more things than I ever had in the past. And as I attended these various fashion, music, and creative business events, the same 3 logos kept popping up and I wasn't really understanding why, and so I decided to do a little research on them. All of these organizations have a presence in Kenya, but like I said, I wasn't really a part of the creative scene. I'm still not really a part of the creative scene in Kenya, specifically Nairobi, so I can't really speak to that at all. So now that I am choosing to be more invested in the creative scene, I'm very confused as to why the British Council, the Goethe-Institut, and Alliance Française are so open to pouring thousands of dollars every month into the creative scene. Like, what are they getting out of it? What is their incentive? Before we go any further, I just want to say that I'm not an expert in international relations or the public policy of any of the countries that these organizations are from. And if I missed anything or misunderstood anything in my research, please comment below, let me know. I'd be happy to learn more. So first things first, what are these organizations? According to BritishCouncil.org, the British Council was formed in the 1940s in response to growing global instability. Their annual report states that the organization's mandate is to create in a country overseas a basis of friendly knowledge and understanding of the people of this country, of their philosophy and of way of life, which will lead to a sympathetic appreciation of British foreign policy, whatever for the moment that policy may be, and from whatever political conviction it may spring. So in the midst of the Great Depression and before World War II, the British government was feeling its physical and political power slipping away. So they created the British Council. Mind you, in 1922, in the middle of this global economic crisis, there were 72 countries that were part of the British Empire. After the economic crisis and after World War II, there were also 72 countries that were part of the British Empire. There were also over 50 countries that were part of the newly formed Commonwealth and also the growing British Council. As of March 2024, the British Council is still under the UK government with close ties to the royal family, and it operates in over 100 countries on 6 of the 7 continents, with a vested interest in arts, culture, and language. Anyway, let's move on to the Germans, shall we? The Goethe-Institut is very open about its history. According to their website, forerunner to the Goethe-Institut, the Dutch Academy, was founded in 1925 as the Academy for the Scientific Research and Promotion of Germanness, a patriotic undertaking after a recently lost World War I. The website goes on to mention that most of the organization's members were nationalist conservatives whose aim was to promote unofficial cultural relations with foreign countries and Germans abroad, with the homeland in the service of German national consciousness and pride. By the late 1930s to early 1940s, the Nazi regime began to officially use the Academy's infrastructure to further its own ideals. At the end of World War II, the Academy is dissolved and the Goethe-Institut is born. However, amidst this rebirth, former high-ranking Nazi officials are employed into high-level positions in this organization. By the 1960s, the Institute begins to fulfill its dream of being free and separate and independent from its former Nazi and state affiliations. Fast forward, as of March 2024, the Institute operates in 98 countries. Their presence in Zimbabwe is through the Zimbabwean German Society, with whom they joined forces with in 1996. The Goethe-Institut is not state affiliated, however, it receives 2/3 of its funding from the European Union, German federal ministries, foundations, and companies in Germany as well as abroad. Last but not least, let's talk about the French. The oldest of these three organizations is Alliance Française. It was formed in 1883, and according to the South African chapter's website, the mandate of the founders was to ensure the influence of French language and culture around the world. Other than this little snippet, I struggled to find information about the history of this organization. There isn't really anything on the official Alliance Française website or their nonprofit website. So that's all we have. This video is kindly sponsored by myself, and I just wanted to let you know that all of my previous courses that have been on Skillshare are now going to be available on YouTube. The link is down in the description if you're interested in learning marketing, web design, graphic design, really anything having to do with remote work. The link is in the description. Across the board, all of these organizations on their websites, whether in short or in long, emphasize that in the 21st century, they want to continue to share their art, their language, and their culture with people outside of their countries, but they want to do that in the context of broader cultural diversity. This is in contrast to past mandates that each of these organizations had that had an imperialist tinge to it, as did most things coming out of Europe in centuries past. Okay, now that we know more about each of these organizations' history, let's talk about what's in it for them. What do these particular organizations gain from pouring thousands of dollars each month into the Zimbabwean creative scene, as well as the creative scenes of countries around the globe? I am losing light very quickly because it's taking me very long to film this, because this is a lot of information. Okay, let's quickly move on before I have no light left. Okay, so I have a couple guesses as to what they are gaining from all of this, but keep in mind, these are just guesses. I'm not an employee of any of these organizations. I did not found any of these organizations, so I really don't know. I know as much as you do at this point. Okay, so my first guess is that everything on these organizations' websites is true. They really want to promote language, art, and culture around the world because they are genuinely curious. And if that's the case, I love to see it. I'm very happy for them, and I wish them the best on their endeavor. My second guess is that these organizations are doing research. Now, for every one call out that they put out for grants or events, they're receiving multiple responses coming back in. And these responses come in the form of very, very detailed proposals. I will admit, I applied to one of these grants. I did not get it, but what I did end up with, and what that particular organization also ended up with, was a very detailed blueprint for how to understand the specific pain points that were underlying the greater issue that they had requested information about. I'd also presented to them a solution for what language to use, the communication styles they should keep in mind, the distribution platforms they should be looking into for reaching the specific audience that they wanted to connect with. So while I didn't get the grant, they essentially received a year's worth of free consultation worth thousands of dollars. My third guess is that these organizations have figured out how to monetize being a nonprofit. Now, this is not illegal at all. Being a nonprofit doesn't mean that you can't make money. It just means that money cannot be your first focus. And that's how you end up with OpenAI nonprofit starting the company OpenAI, which is now valued at $80 billion. I'm wondering if these organizations have figured out how to turn creative and cultural projects into a fiscally interesting situation. And if they have learned how to do that, I would also like to learn. I would like them to teach me how to do that, because that's a great skill to have. I don't really know more about any of these organizations than I did before I entered this rabbit hole, but no matter what their underlying motivations are, I think it's really important to acknowledge how valuable having access to the education and finances that these organizations provide can be. And if you give those resources to creative people with great ideas, that can be life-changing. So if you're out here applying for different grants from these organizations, I wish you all the best. I might try again one day. I don't know. I haven't really decided yet. To be honest, I'm still processing all this information. I'm not really sure what to do with it. But what do you think? How do you feel about these organizations' investment in Zimbabwe and other countries? Do you care? Either way, let me know in the comments. I'd be interested to hear from you.